Well, it's time for Weekend Wellbeing here on the Weekend Wind Down Show. I'm very pleased to welcome once again Karen Ferguson from the Maven Club. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi Nathan, how are you doing today?
Very well, thanks. It's good to see you,
Yeah,
and it's wonderful to be back for Weekend Wellbeing, looking at how we can look after our mental health, which, of course, each of us are going to struggle with. Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing how, and other times knowing when to look after our mental health.
absolutely. Yeah. And you asked how I was doing, and I'd say actually I always really enjoy this point in the week because it does sort of whatever's been going on, it just helps you to refocus and to remember that this is really important. Most of the things that we end up stressing about and struggling over are just not good for us, are they? So to
No.
come back and just sort of get a fresh perspective and a focus, it always brings a smile to my face that we're going to have these chats each week.
Yes, and I really enjoy them too. I've always been able to put into practice some of the things you've talked about. Connecting with people, learning new skills. I haven't actually made any shortbread since we last spoke, but we've been working. I mean, I know my brother's been working on quite a few new recipes and stuff, so that's really good.
Nice.
And
I reckon there could be a pure radio Christmas recipe book just in the making right there. You know, you've got quite a lot of time to get that one ready.
yeah, yeah, plenty of notice. Now is the time to start on something like that.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh,
Awesome. So,
great.
what is our mental health focal point for today?
Well, today, Nathan, I just wanted us to think a little bit about knowing your team. That might sound a bit of a strange thing to say. What do you mean team? What context? Work or football or what might it be? But it's really thinking about who is for you. And this is something that I quite often do in the Maven Club when I'm helping people, supporting people who are at quite a growth stage in their organization. Because quite often what happens is we get to this stage, it kind of suddenly appears, and then there's quite a lot of pressure. And the know your team aspect of what we focus on is really thinking about just understanding who you're surrounded by and what those influences are for you. So one of the first questions you can ask yourself is who that I'm surrounded by, do I just feel confident that they're really for me? So that gives you this sense of even if I make a mistake, even if I, fail in some way, I know that this person, this person, this person, they are for me. They're interested in me. They want the best for me. They're concerned about my well-being. They want to see me thriving. So who is it that you know that is for you? And possibly just as importantly, who is a little bit draining for you? And we don't always like to admit to ourselves that we find people a bit of a drain or difficult, but I guess one of those hints is when you've spent some time with somebody, do you sort of come away feeling energized, or do you feel like you just need to find a dark room and go into the fetal position? And in life, there is always going to be a bit of a mixture of who we're involved in, and you might have responsibilities. You might have aging parents that need a lot of care, or you might have really young children that, they're going to need to take more from you than perhaps what they're giving at times. It's not so much about those people where their stage in life is taking from your time or perhaps is a little bit exhausting, but it's actually those people who emotionally maybe drain you. We can probably all think of one or two people that when we're around them, somehow we just then start to feel a bit flatter, or we feel like we can't get anything right, or we feel criticized or uncomfortable or anything like that. So it's thinking about who in your life is perhaps slightly negative to hang out with, that is a bit of a drainer. And it's not necessarily that we cut those people out entirely, although in some scenarios that would be appropriate, but it is about just weighing up who you need in your team. Because we all need people that help us to feel valued, that help us to feel like, you know what, I've had a bad day, or this really difficult, challenging time is happening, but I know I'm loved. I know I'm valued. I know I'm appreciated. I know perhaps just spending time in their company, just being with them is going to make me feel a little bit better. There's that saying, I can't remember if I've already said it, excuse me if I have, but it's so good it's worth repeating if I have. But there's this saying, I can't quote who said it, so I don't want to misquote, but it's make sure the room lights up when you walk in, not when you walk out. And I sort of always hear that little reminder in my voice, particularly in a professional environment. If I'm doing some training or something, I want people to feel like, excited and they're pleased to see me because they feel like they're going to leave feeling more equipped, more empowered, more encouraged, rather than, oh, they can't wait to see the back of you. So make sure the room lights up when you walk in, not when you walk out. But it is that sense of, for you, who are the drainers? Who when they walk in the room, oh, your lights go out a little bit. But when they walk out, you're like, oh, phew. And it's not about naming and shaming. It's just about that reflection of knowing who drains, who helps you to flourish and thrive, who helps you to feel valued. So I think it's an important thing to stop and think about so that you can address the balance of those that are influencing you negatively and positively, and to focus on who might be in your dream team. What would be your dream team of people that when life is great and when life is not so great, you go to because there's something about being in their company that is good for you. And so I feel really uncomfortable in some ways saying this on the radio because I personally, I'm wired to see the positive in people. I love to draw that out, and I'm not somebody that naturally wants to criticize people. But this is about our well-being and that sort of reflection and self-protection. So it's just thinking about making sure that there is a bit of a team around you in any context, but potentially just in a very personal way. Who are some of the people that are just good for you to be connected to? That even if you can't see them face to face, a 5 minute chat with them or a message is going to make a difference for you. So who would be in your dream team so that you can make sure you're looking after yourself by dipping into times with those people that are just good for you? So, my challenge for this weekend is for you to write a little list. Be careful where you write it and who sees it, just in case you're offending anyone in close distance. Maybe find a fire that you can chuck it into straight away after. But maybe write a list of who would be in your dream team, and then just a bit of an awareness list of some of the drainers that you just need to manage your time. And perhaps sometimes when you connect with them, depending on what's going on and how you're feeling. And then I want to ask you to think about this weekend, how can you connect with just someone from that dream team, even if it's just a quick message? Ideally, it'll be to spend some time with them, but something that is going to help you. So know your dream team, know your team that are good for you, and how can you this weekend connect with someone from that team that is just going to be good for your well-being?
Excellent. Thanks so much, Karen. I think that's a great thought for each one of us. Who would be in our dream team? I can think of many people who I communicate with on a daily basis who always put a smile on my face. And for some, it's a different kind of support. For some, it's a lot more very encouraging. For others, it's a lot more energizing. But there are lots of different people who really do make me feel better about myself and what I'm doing, and to whom I know I can go if I'm feeling a bit low, you know?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. There are going to be people in our lives, some of whom we have to see. Maybe we work with them. Others we can choose to see or not. But there are going to be
Mhm.
people who, yeah, some who drain us, some who really inspire us, and that is such a good challenge for us to look after our mental well-being.
Fantastic. But don't ask your viewers, not your viewers, your listeners, don't ask them to send in their names or anything that could get you into trouble. I guess it's fine to tell you, someone that's on your dream team, but we don't want to cause any upset to the wider
No,
audience.
no, no, absolutely. It is better to keep that between yourself and well, probably a personal list. It's not something that you need to share with other people necessarily. But yeah, good point there. And thank you so much, Karen, for joining me for Weekend Wellbeing this week.
Fantastic. Have a great weekend, Nathan.